right, you've written several books relative to Lynchburg. Can you just tell us about those and where you got the idea? Lynchburgers is one of the ones that I'm thinking of.
Well, I did a couple of column collections, which I don't really count as books because they're easy to do. The first one I did was called Even Here, and it was about some murders in Bedford County, including the Haysom murder, which has resurfaced yet again in the case of Jens Soring, that Governor Kane wanted to send back to Germany, and that's become a big thing. And then the next book I did was called The City Unto Itself, which is kind of Lynchburg in the 20th century. And the reason I wrote that was not because I felt like I was an authority on Lynchburg, but simply because nobody else had written a book past World War II. And I wrote it as a source for myself, basically, and I still use it a lot. But it's mostly anecdotal. Like, I interviewed about 150 people or so for that. And of course, as soon as the book came out, all these people started calling me up saying, you should have talked to so-and-so. But
the Haysom case, since you've mentioned that, you were interviewed on a television program. What was that? I remember seeing it.
Oh, yeah, that was A&E, City Confidential.
I thought you did such a nice job on that.
Because I don't think anybody likes how they come across on TV. But it was kind of funny because these three people came to our house, and they had come in from like St. Louis, New York, and LA, and they all flew in separately, and they descended on our house, and they made us turn off everything electrical, including our refrigerator, which unfortunately we forgot to remember to turn back on until 2 days later. We had to take the dog and put the dog away somewhere, everything that made noise. And they were like looking through my closet, deciding which shirt I was going to wear that fit the best. So it was, and the funny thing about that unlike something like this, is because there's no interviewer. They just have you on camera. You have to just start talking, not as if someone asked you a question, but just as if you were just, well, Jens Soring was, this or that, and it was just kind of weird to me.
Like narrating the event.
Yeah. So.
I remember that show. They started out by saying Lynchburg, Virginia, a small, sleepy little town.
Yeah.
And then, highlighted the murders. But I thought you did a nice job.
Well, my favorite line there was, the 10 Commandments were smashed on the steps of the Bedford County Courthouse. And I'm thinking, I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
I do remember they sold tickets. I mean, they didn't sell tickets. They gave out tickets to the trial because so many people wanted to go to it. So.
That was, well, I just remembered you being on that television special, and I thought you did a really nice job.
They still keep showing it. I still get
every now and then it'll show up.
From people, I saw you on TV. I'm like, oh no, not again.
Now they're going to see you on TV in a different light. All right, what else have you written?
Well, I do a lot of freelancing, a lot of magazine writing, and a lot of writing for websites and things. In fact, until fairly recently, I wrote for a website for people who work in the sewage treatment industry called American Liquid Waste was the name of this magazine, which paid fairly well, and I sort of did it on the side. And the only hard part was having to call people and telling them, I'm calling from American Liquid Waste. And what? Kept trying to get them to change the name of it. And then I wrote for another website, a magazine called North American Street Sweeper. So, then I've done a lot of sports writing, on the side, and, just kind of the whole gamut. But, pretty much anything interests me. I got really interested in septic tanks, actually. Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you more than you would want to know.
What about septic tanks interest you, Darrell?
I can tell you more than you probably want to know.
Now, actually, I probably know. A bunch of men in our science fiction group talked me into going to play paintball with them several years ago, and I did not know that I was claustrophobic until I got the paintball mask on and couldn't do it. And so they sat me in a van and said, we won't be long. 4 hours later, they left me in there with a Pictionary, and the only thing I was able to learn was how to set up a septic tank. So I do share that with you. All right, you said that you've been doing some things for the internet, and is that what you were just talking about? And you do your blog.
Very occasionally. I need to start doing that more. In fact, it's been a while since I've visited it. But I had an idea for it today, and I didn't get around to writing, but maybe tomorrow.
Do you get paid for what you do on the internet?
Not by, well, it's the blog is part of the newspaper thing I do. That's just all part of the package. Oh yeah, sometimes, I mean, you really can, you can make, this is a great time to be a freelance writer because there are just tons of things out there.
Oh, sure.
A lot of them pay hardly anything, though, because there are websites that were started on a shoestring by people who have no money, and they'll want to pay you like $5 an article, or nothing maybe. The key phrase is always when you see the ad, "This will be great exposure for you," which translates into "we're not paying you."
Right.
You know.
Do you develop a fan following on the internet? I know you've got a fan following here in Lynchburg.
Well, I mean, it's not like any kind of organized thing. It's, I guess, yeah, over the years, I mean, but you don't hear from people that much unless you run into them, and they'll say, "Oh, I really like what you write," or that maybe it's a particular thing that they liked.
Darrell, we've got about 2 minutes.
Okay.
And one thing that I'd like to ask you is if you had advice to someone interested in journalism, what would you tell them?
That it's still alive and well. Really, I mean, our newspaper, for instance, is doing pretty well. We haven't had to lay off anybody.
Great.
It's morphing into something different, but I think better. You can read a story about an up-and-coming singer, and you can listen to something she's done, and you click on a link, and it pops up, and there's the person singing,
right.
And here's another story written about that person. It's a whole new world. I think it's very exciting, and I think there's a transitional period right now. But I wouldn't, if someone was interested in that, I wouldn't give up on it.
Great. I thank you so much for being my guest. This 30 minutes has gone by really quickly.
It is.
Please come back another time. I'd love to have you. I hope you all have enjoyed watching this episode of Lynchburg Live. My guest next show will be Dr. James Dunstan, who's Director of Rehab Services at Centra Health. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.